Welcome all again, and we have Dr. Prithviraj and Ms. Nagalata here. Dr. Nagaraj, Prithviraj is from the medical field. He will introduce himself, of course, later, more properly. And as I understand, about 20 years in the pranic healing field also. So it's a interesting mix of alternative healing as well as so-called traditional healing. And along with Nagalata ji, who's also into pranic healing for almost a similar time period. And we look forward to a very interesting and a learning session from you. I understand you will have a presentation for about 30 odd minutes, after which we will open it up to all the participants. We hope to have an interactive session with questions and answers. I have some queries. In fact, in the morning, I was speaking to someone who also raised some queries. So I'll be touching upon that for sure. And as I said, we look forward to an active session for about an hour or so, about 40-45 minutes. Fine, great. Over to you, Arvindji, Prithviraj and Nagalata ji. And I'm going to keep shut now, generally for the meeting, till at the end. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Aditi. And for your questions, please do post your questions wherever you feel free, so that we'll get a clarity on what you're looking for to. Good evening, Ms. Nagalata and Mr. Prem Kumar. Good evening.
Good evening, Arvind.
Good evening. I was looking forward to meet you both and just get some clarity on a few questions that we have. I mean, we got it from the group members, and I personally have a few queries too, which I will post, and I would request you both to give me clarity on those topics.
Sure.
That's okay.
Yes.
Okay. What exactly is pranic healing, and how scientifically does it help to recover patients and support in the recovery process?
Okay. Can I start with the slides so I'll be able to explain in a better way?
Sure.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is on the introduction on pranic healing. I am audible?
Yes, you are. Please go.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. This is Nagalata.
Yes.
I'm in this school of pranic healing from past 22 years. I'm associate certified pranic healer as well as basic pranic healing instructor.
Okay.
My life has changed after entering into pranic healing, a complete change.
Okay.
By applying certain techniques and what Master Chowakoxia has taught us, really a remarkable change has happened in my life. He is the founder of modern pranic healing and Arhatic yoga. He is a chemical engineer, a successful businessman, a scientist, and an author. He has wrote more than 20 books, which is published in different languages, and it's read in many parts of the world. He has founded and funded many charitable trusts all over the world to raise the human consciousness. He has set up Institute of Inner Studies in Manila in 1989, and in 1990, World Pranic Healing Organization is set up in Manila. He has changed many people's life. Like everybody are so happy to be in this field, and using his techniques, many people have benefited a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you please share a few stories and I mean the recovery is successful recovery. Okay.
As I show the slides, I'll keep on telling about it. Yeah. There are many pranic healers who have come here. Even they can share your experiences being in pranic healing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Many of my friends are already logged in the Zoom now. And yeah, in this slide, I would like to share this. When there is less charge in your phone, what happens? Many applications and features won't work. Likewise,
Slides you might,
Yes.
you're not able to see the slides.
you are able to see the slides or not?
Naglata, we can't see it, so you might
We
have to
can't
start
see.
sharing again.
No, we are not. So you have to start sharing, Naglata ji. Again,
1 minute.
start sharing.
1 minute.
Yes.
Come now, Kritika.
Now we can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Got it, Mr. Naglata.
Okay. When master explains, when there is no charge in the mobile, what happens? Many applications and features won't work. Likewise, when energy reduces in our system, many features won't work in our system. Like the impact falls on the physical level, emotional, mental level, and emotional level. How?
Okay.
Mental level, what have like physical level, when your energy drains out, there is no energy in you to do further work. You feel really tired and fatigued, right? So
Right.
what happens? The impact falls on the mental level. You are not able to complete your work. You're already drained. And what happens because of that? You get irritated, anger, fear, all this develops. Okay. This, when mental level also is disturbed, automatically impact falls on the emotional level. What happens? You start screaming at everybody at home or at office. The relationships totally get disturbed. Okay. So all these three features will fall impact on the aura and the chakras. Here you can see this aura is totally disturbed with all the negative thoughts and negative emotions of yourself and others. When this type of disturbed aura is there, automatically the impact on the physical level won't be healthy. This is the clean aura, what you're seeing here. This healthy aura is bright and healthy, and it's big. This is how we need to maintain our aura. When this aura is healthy, automatically the chakras also be healthy. Okay, I'll explain to you as I go forward and explain to you my more about pranic healing. There are 11 major chakras. All the chakras has their own work to do in physical level, emotional level, and psychological level. Okay. This is one more aura. What I'm showing you all is inner aura and outer aura. This outer aura is exactly the shape of an inverted egg. Okay. Yeah. Throughout this, I request you all to understand and to analyze, and whatever query you have, you can ask at the end of the session. And also I request you all not to cross your hands and legs throughout the session. So for maximum absorption of information, we'll be able to gather about pranic healing, right?
Right.
Yeah. What is pranic healing? Pranic healing is based on the overall structure of a human body. Man's body is composed of two parts, the visible physical body and invisible energy body. So in this picture, you can make out we have a energy body, physical body and energy body. This energy body is taken exact shape of the physical body. Okay.
Right.
So this physical body we can see, we can touch, we can feel everything. In this energy body, we have energy channels and energy centers called chakras and meridians. This energy centers will absorb prana, digest it, and distribute to the physical body level, physical body. Okay. However, we inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Likewise, even the energy body absorbs the energy, digests it, and distributes the energy, and it throws up the waste energy, used up energy.
Okay.
Okay. This energy centers, what I was mentioning, like chakras, it will be doing its work. In certain, for various reasons, the chakras might not function properly. What happens that time? That area gets filled up with dirty energy.
Okay.
So a healer uses the source of prana to heal this energy body. How? What is prana? Prana is a life energy which keeps our body alive and healthy. There are different names for prana in different countries. They have called in different names. In Greek, it is called pneuma. In Polynesian, it is called mana. In Hebrew, it is called ruah, breath of life. Here, the healer is absorbing the energy from the source of prana and distributing it and projecting to the patient. So the healing, the rate of healing gets accelerated. Where you get these three sources of prana? We're getting the three sources of prana from the ground, from the air, and from the sun. Okay.
Okay.
Here I like to ask you all, most of them have experienced, whenever you feel tired and exhausted, when you go and take rest under the tree, you get recharged later on. How this is happening? Because the tree has the three sources of prana. It is connected to the ground, it is connected to the air, and it is connected to the sun. Okay.
Okay.
So the healer takes the energy from these three sources and project to the patient for further healing to happen. Okay.
Okay.
As pranic healing is a no-touch, no-drug therapy. A pranic healer cannot become a doctor can become a pranic healer. Like my friend who is Prithviraj, is first a pranic healer, then he became a doctor. Okay. Here I like to share my personal experience. Like I was tested positive for COVID. It so happened my medical treatment was taken care by the doctors and pranic healers were healing on me for recovery. So like side by side, both it has become like a complement. This thing, therapy for me to get healed faster.
Okay.
And likewise, like many people after coming out of COVID, they used to tell they're not able to recover. They're feeling very tired and all. But that symptom I didn't have. Luckily, I was practices of breathing and all. This helped me to keep my body strong. And it was not so badly I was affected. It was a very mild COVID. Okay. So in this slide, we can understand that it's just helping.
You need to unmute yourself, Namita.
You are muted, Naglata ji.
Sorry.
Now you're back. Okay.
Yeah. Who is using pranic healing? I like to share a story of a person who is a farmer. He was growing tomatoes in his tomato farm. His tomatoes were not able to get sold in the market. But he had learned pranic healing. He applied pranic healing on his plant and it made such a way his tomatoes started growing bigger and so colorful, and they were able to sell the tomatoes very easily in the market. Okay.
Okay.
Law of self-recovery. The body has its capacity to heal itself. Ever you have ever experienced when you have a cut or a burn without applying any tincture or for it? After a few days, you observe that place where you had a cut or a burn, it has healed by itself. You have experienced that?
Correct.
So through this, we can understand the law of self-recovery. Means the body has the capacity to heal itself to a certain level. Okay. Law of life force. I heard many doctors after surgery, they apply pranic healing on the affected area where they have done the surgery for enhancing the healing to make it more faster to get healed. Okay, this is for life to exist, the body must have prana or the life force. So we increasing the rate of healing by projecting the prana on the affected part. Okay.
Okay.
So here, disease appear first on the energy body. Like how? Master Chova was healing a habitual drunkard. When Master felt there's something wrong in the liver, by when he is healing, he told him to go for a lab test and meet the doctor. But the lab test showed everything was normal. But after 3 months, he met again Master saying that he has hepatitis. So the energy body gets affected first, then only it comes to the physical body. So it has taken time for the disease to travel from the energy body to the physical body. Okay, so when there are techniques in pranic healing. Once you feel that there is a dirty energy, what happens? Immediately we can clean that part and make the energy to move freely. Okay. Yeah. Cleansing and energizing. Okay. Have you ever experienced in your house when the AC is not working in your home? What you'll do? You'll remove the filter and clean, and the filter is filled with dirt and dust. Through that, the AC breeze is not coming cool, right? So when you clean the place, clean the AC filter and fix it back, you will be experiencing good cool air. What here, like that, when our body energy is stagnated somewhere, we clean that affected part or affected organ and project the fresh energy in that particular area for the free movement of energy and free flow of energy, and also to get healed, for the further healing to happen. Prithvi, you want to add anything here?
Few things. If it's okay, can we go back a couple of slides to the law of the principles of pranic healing? So,
yeah.
Okay. Now, quick thing before. How many of you here are non-pranic healers, if I may ask you? Quick show of hands or just a yes on the chat. Non-pranic healers. And how many of you would like to feel prana or feel energy? I understand a lot of us feel the topic is very abstract. When we talk about aura and chakras, it's like, what are they talking about? Is this all even possible? Is this tangible? So if you want to make it really tangible, if some of you would like to feel prana, shall we do a small experiment? Okay. Can you just lift your left hand up, press the center of your palm, raise your right hand up. Okay. Yeah, both hands. Actually, we're going to do both hands. So I'm just saying left hand, right hand, one by one. Lift your hand, press the center of your palm, and press your fingertips. Now, what we're going to do is keep your hands facing each other. Okay. You can keep it at whatever height is comfortable for you. Okay. At a comfortable height, just keep your armpits a little open if that's possible also, if that's possible. So I'm just going to put it high so that you can see it. Okay. Now, if some of you can't lift your hands, you can leave it down and do it, or you can even try it with one hand. Let's just try it with one hand also. If both hands are not possible, we'll just try it with one hand and we'll see what's happening. Okay, that's also okay. Now, keep your two hands facing each other if that's possible. Inhale and exhale slowly. Now, what I would request you to do is to be aware of the center of your palm and your fingertips. Just put your awareness there, focus a little, and inhale and exhale slowly. Just think of it like a magic show, a small trick, just for the sake of experimentation. Inhale and exhale slowly. And if possible, let's move one hand outwards and bring it closer. Now, if some of us are using just one hand, you can just try moving it up and down. That works also. Okay. Okay. So let's just do 3 or 4 breathing cycles. Inhale and exhale slowly. Be aware of the center of your palm and your fingertips. And gently just be aware of what's happening in the center of your palm and your fingertips. And if some of you feel something, do let me know. Feel free to unmute. Now, ideally, we have to do this for 3 to 5 minutes, but 3 to 5 minutes is a lot of time. So we're just going to do 4 or 5 breathing cycles max. Now, if some of you feel something, can you just let me know? Questions. Do some of you feel a little bit of warmth? Is there a sensation of warmth or heat? You can just raise your hands also. Virtual hand is also perfectly fine. So just open the participants. So somebody says you feel a light buzz. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So there's a slight pressure on the palms. Perfect. Thank you so much. So anybody else? Now, the few things that you can feel is probably a little bit of pressure, a little bit of a temperature change. It can be warmth or cold, a little bit of tingling sensation, something like electricity passing through, or a feeling of numbness, a tingly sensation. Thank you. Now, what is this tingly sensation that you're feeling? Or what is this vibration that you're feeling there? That is basically prana. So what we're trying to say is this prana, even though it's not something you can see, is very, very tangible. It is tangible. It's something that you can actually see. And just to give you an analogy, can all of us see oxygen? Can we see carbon dioxide? Can we see electricity? Of course, we see the result of electricity, but do we see the DNA? Do we see ATP molecules? None of it. And yet science believes in all of this. Similarly, prana is something that's very, very subtle that you can feel. Let's just say science has not yet come to a point where we can scientifically prove it. Not yet. And what we really do in pranic healing is use this prana to actually help heal the other person better. So that's where the law of life force comes in. So in this particular thing, the law of life force, when a prana is actually projected into the part that's affected, that part starts healing faster. Just to give you an understanding, for example, if we take from the medical perspective, if somebody has a fracture, normally we say it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for the fracture to heal completely, even if we do a surgical procedure on that. If you don't do a surgical procedure, we just put a plaster of Paris, it takes a little longer than that. But for example, the doctor does the plaster of Paris or does the surgical procedure, and then pranic healing is simultaneously applied. All we're doing is projecting fresh prana to that particular part. It's almost like a catalyst. What happens? The healing is much, much faster. So instead of taking 3-4 weeks, we're going to look at it like, say, 7 days, 10 days, and the person is almost back to normal. Exactly. Now, somebody's saying popularized Chinese Qi. Qi is another terminology for prana in the Chinese language. So that's why Tai Chi comes in. Okay. So if you look at the Japanese thing, Reiki or Aikido is there. So it's the same thing, but different terminologies in different things. So prana is the basis of everything. That's the life force which sustains all of us. Okay. Now, if some of you didn't feel this energy, I would request you after the session to probably practice this for 5-10 minutes and then see if you can feel an experience. It's almost impossible to not feel it. So I would just request you to practice it for a little long. Okay. I'll pass it on to Naglata again.
This slide, you can say something, Prithvi, cleansing and energizing.
Yeah. So basically, even in the previous slide, I think Naglata was saying deceased energy first appears in the energy body before it manifests physically. Correct? Now, most of us, if not all of us, sometimes have a feeling of falling sick even before we've actually fallen sick. It's almost like you have a premonition that you're going to come down with a fever or come down with a cold. And we tell people at home, I don't feel all that all right. I think I'm going to fall sick. Even before you have vomiting or before you have fever, you're like, something is wrong. My body does not feel okay. That something is not wrong is because your energy body is already affected. So it just takes a little longer for it to manifest physically. Now, what's the implication of that statement? You can possibly prevent a lot of diseases. Possibly. I'm not saying you can mandatorily prevent everything. It's almost like, why do you clean your house every day? There's not so much of dirt in your house every day, but you still sweep it every day beautifully. Why do we do that? We just want to prevent accumulation of dirt. Similarly, when you actually apply pranic healing preventively, you can probably try and avert a lot of diseases. Which brings us to the next thing of cleansing and energizing. Now, the concept of cleansing and energizing is very, very simple. If somebody sees a dirty thing on the floor in your house, what do you do? Natural tendency, you want to pick it up, throw it in the dustbin. You don't want things lying around on your floor, at least in the house. So some of us, there are some healers, some really advanced people who can actually see energy, just like we can feel energy. There are people who can see energy. Somebody saying they had a premonition. Thank you for sharing that. So some people, when they can see energy, it's almost like if you see the slide which is being shown here on the left, there's some dark, dirty energy. If you actually see that, the natural tendency is for you to be able to collect it and dispose it. And how do you do that? In pranic healing, they actually teach you to use your hands, remove dirty energy, and then throw it. This is almost like the similar principle that we use in the Indian tradition where we do drishti. They remove all the negative thing. I don't know what it's called in Hindi. If somebody can help me out with that. I know South India, it's called drishti.
Nazar utarna. It is called nazar utarna.
No, okay. Now it rings a bell with some people. So that's a very common tradition in our system. Again, if you look at it, if you go to a dargah, if you go to a mosque, they use a peacock feather to do that. In certain traditions, they use a neem leaf to do that. What are they doing in all these traditions? All they're doing is they're trying to remove the dirty energy from the system. And once dirty energy is removed, it's very easy to project fresh prana and the body starts healing much, much better. So that's how the concept of cleansing and energizing came. It's a very natural thing, just that the terminologies and the way it's being structured in the pranic healing thing is very, very scientific. It's just being put in a very scientific way.
Okay.
Over to you, Naglata.
Where and all you can apply pranic healing. I had a friend whose child was around 5 years. Okay. And the child was refusing to go to school, giving a reasons that I have stomach pain and all. As my friend had learned pranic healing, she used the techniques and told her the child, no, you won't have stomach pain. And the child was started arguing with the mother. But the child realized, oh God, my mother learned pranic healing, so she can check whether I have stomach pain or not. And the child silently got back to school. So pranic healing can be healed in many things. We can use pranic healing in many areas to heal. Now, in this slide, you can see there's a fully battery charge. So when your energy levels are quite strong, you're able to do all your activities on time. You'll be more dynamic. You will be able to finish your work and you'll be internally calmer and calmer. You'll be a super cool person. So always we need to keep our energy levels quite high and make your work and make your relationship and make your physical health to be quite strong.
So do you have any tips for us to do it every day? I mean, do it ourselves every day to keep ourselves energized every day?
You need to learn pranic healing.
Okay.
One of the things that you can, one of the things that you can possibly do is do a right kind of breathing called pranic breathing. Now, that's one of the fastest ways to probably recharge yourself. Now, a quick question to some of you. When you inhale, that's when you pull air inside. Does your tummy come out or does it go in? What does it do?
Go in.
It goes in. Okay. Can I have a few more answers?
It has to come out.
Come out.
If you do it consciously, then it comes out.
Technically, it has to come out, but I'm glad Arvind said goes in because when I first started, it used to go in for me. So I'm glad I have company there. But technically, like what Anandi ma'am is saying, when you inhale, your abdomen is supposed to come out. The reason is, imagine you're blowing air into a balloon. Is the balloon supposed to expand? Obviously, it's supposed to expand. So when air is going in, your lung is expanding, your diaphragm is coming down. Obviously, your abdomen has to come out. So that's the right way of breathing. And one of the ways to actually implement that is to put your hand on your tummy and consciously expand your abdomen as you're inhaling and contract your abdomen as you're exhaling. And do this as a constant practice. Do this for about 5-10 minutes. Almost guaranteed you'll feel recharged. Probably not 100%, but say 50-70% up. That's one of the fastest ways. If you don't take anything else from this session, probably do that. Pranic breathing will help you.
Okay.
So inhale, exhale, inhale, your abdomen comes out. As you exhale, your abdomen goes in.
Okay. And is there a count for this? I mean,
yeah, we have a count.
there are a few methods of doing it. One, let's just say in the class we teach you a few methods, but one of the, just to add another dimension to it, as you inhale, at the peak of inhalation, if you can hold for a fraction, that can be 1 second or even a fraction of a second, and then you exhale and then you hold again for a fraction. That holding of the breath actually makes this technique much, much more powerful.
Okay.
Why will probably be discussed in the class, but then for practice, you can really try that.
Okay.
So inhale, hold, exhale, hold. You can use your own count as it suits you. Preferably have a rhythm. That's the only thing I would suggest. So let the inhalation and the exhalation be equal. Okay. So let it be a balance. Somebody's learned from the Bruce Lee movies. Nice.
Yeah. Okay, the last slide. It's like a pranic healing is more like a cookbook approach. Like how we, as a bachelor, when a person needs to cook, he needs to follow step by step how to do the cooking. In same way, pranic healing, every protocol is like a cookbook approach. What need to be done, what next, everything is to clearly explain and nicely designed by the guru. So we won't miss out anything while healing the client. Yeah. Now I'm handing over to Prithvi. Prithvi will continue now.
Thank you, Nagrita.
You.
Just a few quick things. I'm not going to present something. Sorry. Okay, I am not going to be presenting a slide. So just a few things. The screen is open so I can see all of you. What is health? In your understanding, what really is health? If somebody can share. We're all here to become healthy, right? So that's why we're actually having this conversation. What do you think is health? Is it just physical health? Or is there another dimension to it? Being at ease, yes. So that takes it to another dimension. The actual definition of health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just the merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So it's just not physical health. It's not just physical well-being, but it's also social, emotional, or to add the psychosocial or the psychological aspect. Now, that's where prana actually plays a major role. So like Naglata was saying in the beginning, the impact of prana is almost threefold at least. So it has an impact on the physical, on the mental, and the emotional state. So anytime, it's almost like, think of it this way. You have a long day at work. You have a very stressful day. When you come back, are you very patient at home, especially with people at home? It's almost like pulling a fuse. There's no patience. You throw around things. You're very irritated. Why is that happening? That's because you have low prana. Of course, your physical body is still up and running, but the reason why you're actually getting irritated is because of the pranic energy level. So if you can actually increase that, your emotional state is going to be much better. If you increase that, your mental output is going to be much better. So the impact on this, even though we're talking about physical, emotional, and mental state, the impact on this is going to be in your relationships. The impact on this is going to be in your financial conditions, on the way you interact with everybody. So it's not just on yourself, but it's for the world around you also. And one of the ways to actually stay healthy is just to do pranic breathing, the one we saw. Okay. Now to think of it, we were talking about disease. Now, what are the diseases that can be treated with pranic healing, and why are we actually thinking of something like pranic healing instead of allopathy? Allopathy is a brilliant system. It works fantastically. By the way, I'm a cancer surgeon, so I work in the field of cancer, and we do surgeries almost every day. So I like doing my surgeries. Nothing against the allopathy system. I love doing my surgeries, but I like pranic healing even better, because what allopathy misses is what pranic healing offers. Just to give you an idea, say somebody comes with a gastric ulcer. A simple example, somebody has an ulcer, stomach ulcer. Everybody knows this. We probably, all of us have gone through this. We've had pain in the abdomen. What happens? You have a tummy pain. The doctor gives you a medicine, or invariably we go to a pharmacy and we say Gelusil, pop in the pill. sorted out in 2-3 days. Have we treated the condition? Medically, we haven't treated the condition. Medically, if you have to treat the condition, you have to take that pill for about 20 days. But the question again is, what caused the medical condition to manifest in the first place? Was there a psychological aspect to it? Was there another dimension to it? Now, unless you go inside, treat the energy counterpart, which we were talking about as the aura here. So unless you treat the aura, unless you treat the corresponding chakras which control those organs, the treatment is not going to be complete. It's not a permanent solution. This is one of the reasons why most diseases keep coming back after periods of time, or why some diseases are called chronic diseases. For example, diabetes, hypertension, allopathically, medically, we almost say there's no cure. It's like pop and pill month after month, you keep going on with it. That's because the energy aspect is not touched. So even though science has developed, progressed greatly, we still haven't understood certain dimensions. We still undermining new things, and probably in another 50 years, we might come up with adding all of these things. So the entire system becomes more holistic. Instead of just treating one aspect, you're going to be treating all the things together. Okay. Now, to share a few quick stories, two aspects. One is a healing aspect. Now, there was the reason I landed up in pranic healing was this. My father was an asthma patient, so he used to have wheezing, and by wheezing, he used to use the inhaler, the puff inhaler, almost every day. As long as I've seen him as a child, he's always used it, and multiple times. It's like the car had it, the office had it, every room in the house had it, because he needed it whenever it was necessary. And that's how my mother actually landed up in pranic healing to learn. This was many, many years back when I was still in school. I was very young then. So my mother actually started applying pranic healing on him. My father was very skeptical, actually. To be honest, he was very skeptical. He said, what is this? You're waving your hand and then what will happen? And so next time he had an asthma attack, he actually said, do the healing. The best part was over the next 20, 25 years, I can almost just finger count the number of times he's used an inhaler. For somebody who's using it multiple times every day for the next 20 odd years, probably 15, 20 times or lesser. So a disease which was chronic, which was almost a permanent part of him, is almost sorted out, and it hasn't come back. That's because the energy body was treated. Of course, we do something to affect the energy body, it might come back. So that's something we'll have to be careful about. To give you another example, another experience. Now, we were talking about preventive healing. Now, how many of us here have children? We have children. Some of us have children. Yeah. And we've vaccinated our children. Or the child falls sick periodically, especially when they were young children. What do you do in that case? 11 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night, somebody has a fever. What do you do? Do you want to run to the doctor? Okay, my son was about to take a vaccine. There are multiple doses of vaccine that he had to take when he was a kid. And some of these vaccines actually cause fever. For sure. It's a guarantee that it will cause fever. I was trying to experiment by cleaning up the medicine and by healing my son before it manifested. Surprisingly, he didn't have fever and he was really, really active. My mind was very skeptical. Being so many years in pranic healing, I was skeptical. I was like, maybe coincidence, it doesn't. I am just imagining this. Second shot of vaccine, I didn't do the healing. He manifested fever promptly and he was down for a day. So the next time I was going for a vaccine, I again experimented and it worked brilliantly. In fact, we had to go back to the pediatrician for some other reason. And she was like, doesn't look like he took a vaccine today. He seems that active. So that's what energy healing can do. That's what pranic healing can do. And just to give you another dimension of the whole thing, some of us have read physics. Almost all of us have read physics in school, right? Everything in the world is energy, correct? So everything in the world is energy. So the way you speak, the way you talk, the way you interact with people, the way you move around, you're walking, talking, everything translates into energy actually. And what do you do in pranic healing? We use prana to actually help your energetic condition better. So what I'm trying to say is, can pranic healing be used in other aspects of life, for relationships, for financial conditions, to get a better job, to make yourself perform better? Obviously it can. So the implications of this is not just healing your physical body, but you can just extend its applications as much as you can. It's just up to your imagination and what your mind can do. There any questions? We'll probably take that and then we'll probably share a few more things. I see some of you wanting to ask certain things depending on what we spoke. Can pranic healing be done on oneself? Of course, you can do pranic healing on yourself. So there is, in the class, they also teach you to do self pranic healing. So you can apply pranic healing on yourself and you can apply pranic healing on others. And the best part about pranic healing is, because the world itself is an energy body and we are all energy beings inside. So everything is just energy. There's a certain energy link or an interconnectedness. So it is not mandatory that the person is sitting right in front of you for the healing to happen. Say, for example, somebody is sitting in the US and there's a relative of yours, they say, I'm having a migraine, I'm having a very bad headache. Can you sit here and do a healing? Yes, you can. And it works the same way. And how much time does a healing session take? Depends on the condition. There's no blanket rule for that, but on an average, somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes, probably an hour in some cases, in certain severe cases. That's for one session. Now, again, does one healing completely cure a person? Does one pill completely cure a person? No, medically, it does not work that way. So pranic healing also is a very subtle science. So it is a slow process, but it's a more gradual and a definite process. In some cases, we have seen miraculous healings of, say, for example, 20 years of back pain, 2 healings sorted for good, never came back. So certain cases we have seen like that, but in general, it takes a few days to a few weeks, depending on certain conditions. Who can learn pranic healing? Almost anyone can learn pranic healing. I think all of us sitting here can, all you need is an average mind and the intent to learn. By the way, I learned it when I was, I think, 15 or 16 years old. So if I can learn it when I was in school, I'm pretty sure all of us can learn it and practice it really well. Is it possible to heal multiple sclerosis? We have had a few cases where there's been healing of multiple sclerosis, but I would say symptoms will definitely get better. There will be substantial relief of pain and certain symptoms. Whether or not the healing is completely going to happen, we'll have to wait and see. So again, in pranic healing, just like in certain allopathic fields, we don't obviously give a guarantee and say you will completely be okay. What we're doing is trying to heal the energy body so that the physical body automatically starts healing. It's almost like a blueprint. The energy body is a blueprint of the physical body. So when you treat the energy body, the physical body has to manifest. It has to become all right. So that's the science behind it. Hey Shiva, welcome. You're always welcome to learn pranic healing. Please join us. Any other questions we have? If somebody wants to unmute and ask, also feel free to ask.
Yes, please. Certainly, you can unmute yourselves and you can please feel free to ask questions. In fact, if I may come in, and I think, I just a query, and probably we all have it. I'm an engineer, I have studied science and all that. So when I look at science, there are laws. I throw a ball up in the air, 100% of the times it should fall down. So I know that there is a law and this law is followed. That is where I'm curious. For example, you made some good examples. You said, for example, vaccination. One, fever happened. Pranic healing was done. Fever did not happen. Why can't we apply a scientific method to that? Maybe extend it to a clinical trial. Maybe take 1,000 patients, as you know, yourself being a doctor, who are undergoing vaccination. Take a sample and take another sample. So you conclusively, at the end of it, you have 1,000 patient data, which will tell you whether pranic healing help them in not having the fever after vaccination or not. Are there these kind of studies being done, or are they being thought of?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for asking that. Now, there have been a few studies that have been done with pranic healing, and a few studies that have been published also. Offhand, I don't have the data to share that with you, but you could look it up on the web. One of the interesting things that the vaccination is something I've not thought of. Thank you for sharing that. So probably we should think of that. Thank you. But one of these studies that was done in Chennai was done by a neurosurgeon. So he has a hospital of his own, a very experienced pranic healer who's been practicing for about 25 years. So what he did was, in his hospital, anybody who comes into the hospital is offered pranic healing along with allopathic treatment. It's given as soon as you enter the hospital. And there was a series of neurosurgery or brain surgery cases that were being studied for this. So they took about, I think, 15 or 25 cases. I'm not sure about the number. So in some cases, pranic healing was applied before the procedure, during the procedure, after the procedure. In certain cases, only after the procedure. In certain cases, only during the procedure. And in certain cases, it was not done at all. Now, what was interesting to see was the final results show that there were a few parameters they studied. So the blood loss overall, and it was the same surgeon performing almost the same kind of surgery on all the patients. So that bias was not there. So overall, the blood loss was found to be much lower in the arm where pranic healing was applied before and after. The rate of recovery of the patient was much better. The ease of the surgery was much better. And the duration of time of the surgery was also much lesser. And there were a few more parameters I'm not able to recall, but that was one of the studies. And there have been a few other clinical studies that have been going on, a few studies that have been published. To corroborate, you need to put it in an absolute medical journal, you need a little more of scientific evidence before you can publish it. So we're still working on that. It's almost like saying yoga works. Yes, we're doing a little bit of study on that, but we need a little more conclusive data before you can publish it in a very scientific journal. But things are happening, things are moving.
There is a question in the chat, which I think is, again, Jennifer raises an interesting point. She says, does pranic healing something to do with a spiritual belief? Do we need to believe?
I would say a little bit of belief. I wouldn't say, let's put it this way. If you say, I don't want pranic healing, then it probably does not work. But if you say, I don't believe in pranic healing, but I would like to experiment with it, I would like to try the healing, that's still okay. It still works. It still works. Is there a spiritual side to it? Yes, there is a spiritual side to it. Is it mandatory? Not. It's not mandatory. So you don't have to jump into being a spiritual person to learn pranic healing. But obviously, when your physical, mental, emotional, so you can call the dimension a spiritual dimension. And they also teach you certain meditations. There is a meditation which is taught in the pranic healing class, and which is an open meditation actually that anybody can practice. Even without the class, you can learn it. So that's another spiritual dimension to it.
One thing I'd like to add here, there is no casteism here. That one thing, this one thing I really love into being pranic healing. There's no casteism. It's just a belief. It goes through belief, everything. You need to believe, then the effect will be there. If you won't believe, the effect will be slow, or it may not be having any effect on you. So you need to just believe it.
Okay. That's almost the case that we see with certain medicines also. Surprisingly, even though it's a physical pill that you're popping inside, and some patients say this pill will not work, it really does not seem to work. And we've not still understood why that's happening, but we have seen some cases where it just does not work, though that's the best medicine available for that. So there's something to do with the energy aspect. Sir, you're muted.
How effective is pranic healing in improving the emotional and mental state?
That's one of the best aspects of pranic healing, actually.
Especially after a stroke.
That's really one of the strongholds of pranic healing, I would say. Because what allopathy misses is probably that we don't really deal with the psychological aspects, especially to deal with the emotional part. Though we do give a little bit of counseling, we do give emotional support, and there's a support group that's formed. All of that is there. What really is missing there is again the energetic aspect. So if all of that counseling and all of that support group is there, and you're actually applying pranic healing along with it, the result is almost dramatic. It's unbelievable. Just because you asked, not a case of stroke, but there was a person who had something called anxiety neurosis. So it was somebody who came to us for healing. I was back in school then, and I happened to have the opportunity to heal this person. When the person came, he was very, very depressed, extremely depressed. I couldn't see a person more depressed than him. And he used to come with a driver, sit gloomy, about 20 minutes, half an hour of pranic healing, or even 45 minutes. He used to sleep through it, go back. But what was amazing to see was about 2-3 weeks time, his demeanor started changing. The way he started speaking to us, the way he started opening up to us was very, very different. In a month, the person he was completely different. His way of dressing changed. It was almost like one of the most stylish people that you can see. He used to come with one of those headphones on his head, drive his own bike. From being chauffeur driven, he got his bike, started driving around, and probably one of the most jovial people I've seen till now. That just took about a month. So he just used to come, sit down. The energy healing was done. Of course, we used to do a little bit of talking. He used to open up a little, so that was there. But things just dramatically changed. So psychological aspect absolutely works wonders. Can it help with addiction? Yes, that also.
Prithvi, there's one chat, Mrs. Poonam Gopalakrishnan. Just go through that. Prithvi, can you answer this?
I'm just looking at the chat.
Yeah, if you could just go scroll up also, I think there are some other questions, maybe unanswered. Just we can address them as well. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Whom to contact to learn pranic healing? You can probably get in touch with Naglata. She'll probably put you on to somebody who's an authorized instructor, and she herself can teach also. So that is it. And of course, in your respective cities also, you have people who teach.
So let us know which place you belong to. Accordingly, we can put a proper instructors for you all to learn pranic healing, because many instructors are all over India. So we'll you can ask me which place they are belonging to, then we can put a proper instructor there.
Somebody's asking, how do I start learning pranic healing? You have to come to a class. It's a 2-day class. So once you finish the 2-day class, you can learn it. And you can just start practicing. So all it takes is actually 2 days to learn. And there's a shorter version of it available online now called Self-Pranic Healing, which is available online. So if you just want to experiment with that first, then that's another possibility you have. Anybody can learn it again. And is it palliative? Not really. So pranic healing actually helps your physical body heal faster when applied along with allopathy or any other orthodox system. So pranic healing is not palliative, but it's more a complementary therapy. So the healing is much faster. And it can be done remotely. Yes, we spoke about that. Distant healing is possible. Pranic healing can be done distantly. So you don't have to be always sitting in front of the person. For example, COVID time, most people, like Naglata was saying, a lot of people were affected with COVID, and a lot of healers were actually healing COVID patients regularly. So obviously you can't go sit in front of a COVID patient and heal them. That's definitely not possible. So you sit distantly and you heal. And a couple of my colleagues actually had COVID. They were also oncologists. They were surgical oncologists. They were admitted in hospital, and they were also offered pranic healing, and they recovered really fast.
Yeah, I seeing in a chat, Samir, is pranic healing the same as energy healing? Yes, it's pranic healing is just an energy healing only. Yeah.
Anything else? I saw a question asking, did I always want to become a pranic healer? Did I want to become a doctor? I don't know. I seriously don't know. The interest in pranic healing was triggered when I was about 8 years old. So I waited a few years to learn it. It's really helped my understanding of orthodox medicine also, allopathy also. So the discrepancies, the shortcomings of allopathy is overcome with something like pranic healing. So when the two go together, it's really fantastic. It's amazing the results that you can produce.
I think it's asked in the chat also, what is the difference between Reiki and pranic healing? As a layman, what would you say is the difference between the two?
Both are energy healing, sir. But this was a pranic healing was introduced by Master Chowa, and Reiki is introduced by Dr. Usai and Dr. Hayashi. This like Reiki is connected to more on the symbol basis. We need to get the initiation, then we need to use those symbols on the client, and then only we can project Reiki energy there. So in Reiki, you need initiation. In pranic healing, there's no need of any initiation is needed there. So you can directly approach the class, you can sit in the class and learn the pranic healing. But Reiki needs initiation. They need to practice on themselves for 21 days. Then only they can start doing a healing on them, others. This is the difference I have seen, sir.
I would just like to focus here. I think Anandiji did talk about a bit about the emotional aspects, depression, etc. Have you also seen, maybe in your experience, or maybe some of the other practitioners can also address that specifically? Yes, Anandiji, बोलिए, आप बोलिए, हाँ, please.
हाँ, जैसे what I could understand. See, basically, if somebody's energies are blocked, then pranic healing helps. So in my husband's case, the emotional state, whatever he is in now, the anxiety and depression is because of the stroke. So,
Yes.
so how do you heal that? Whether you deal only with the emotional being or the vital force that you are talking about?
So we need to work on the energy body. Both is connected to emotional level and the physical level. So once we start repairing the energy body, automatically the physical body and the impact falls on the physical body, and both start working in a equally. So we work on the energy body, we'll work on the depression matter. Then when we'll work on the physical level, what is affected, especially the brain, we need to work on the physical level also. So the damage is caused on the energy body mode. So what we do, we work on the energy body, then and then the effect falls on the physical level also. Anything to add up, Prithvi?
This is where the understanding of energy comes in. So when everything translates to energy, all you're doing is, if you think of depression or you think of stress or any other kind of emotional state, that's also a form of energy. So all we're actually doing is help facilitate removal of certain not so good energy and put in fresh prana. What we've also not spoken about is, we spoke about the aura, we spoke about the energy body, but there are a few other bodies that we haven't spoken about. So that comes in certain classes. So though we do deal with only the energy body, the effect is there on certain subtle bodies. So the effect of your emotional state is much, much faster. And certain traumatic events actually have a psychological imprint. So it's almost like an impression that's there. So that can also be removed. So once that removed, it's almost like the flow of energy is much, much better. So that's really possible to get that off. Any traumatic event can be taken off. And that's probably one of the causes that all of us have. All of us have a trigger point. We all have a psychological thing from the past that's caused off something, small or big. And that's possible to take off.
If I may ask, sir, carrying that thought a little further, have you had experience in dealing with, for example, schizophrenic patients? Does it help in those instances also? Are you having such kind of, let's say, histories of people being, improved there?
Yes, sir. Personally, I've not done, but I know somebody who's healed quite a few of schizophrenic patients and also bipolar disorders. So quite possible to heal. And when we actually learn a course called pranic psychotherapy, there's a reason why this happens. Though medically we say there's certain hormonal chemical changes in the brain that's causing all of this, there's a completely different dimension in the energy part. and there's certain real reasons why this is manifesting. Now, some of these reasons we may not be able to validate completely scientifically, but the result is seen, obviously. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. So obviously when the patient gets all right, you know something has worked. And it works really fast also.
No, like what Sudhiji just said, that if you collate the data collected about vaccination and then, present it. So we feel that if it's about energy, maybe, even government should take it up. Every hospital should have a pranic healing center so that, you don't know what works. There are many doctors also like you who are spiritual in nature, who also feel that everything is not in your hands. It's ultimately it's in his hands.
To make
We
it more
wish it
clear,
was-
in Chennai, Apollo hospitals have a pranic healing room. So people come forward to take healing in Apollo, where they have allotted the room for patients to come and get healed. Or the people who are along with them, they also get healed. In some hospitals, they are providing this opportunity for us.
Maybe it can help the patients heal faster,
Yeah.
once.
We
So it's
wish
not
people
depend
were
on
more
how-
open.
Yeah, it's not only depend on the patient's mindset, even the people who are taking care also is more needed for them also. So we need to work on both the people, right? So the person who's taking care also must have a positive mindset, and the same way it must be on the patient also. So both need healing. So the best part to do like meditation, which makes lots of change. You become more innerly calmer. You'll be able to take the things stronger. So which makes you also to become free of stress and anxiety about the patient. Even you can learn, even you can apply on your family members.
I have learned about 2-3 years back
Okay.
from somebody in Hyderabad who had come over to Gurgaon, and one of my friends, she had invited me over. So we
Okay.
did. And after doing that, he asked me to practice on yourself and maybe the family members. So one day I did the healing for my daughter. The
Okay.
moment I completed the healing, I don't know, she felt nauseous and she went and vomited.
Okay.
But then I spoke to the person who had taught us. He's he's Vamshi, Mr. Vamshi from Hyderabad. So he asked me to send the photo and he said, it's perfectly all right. Maybe there was some negative energy which came out. There's nothing wrong. I was really afraid maybe I did something wrong. So, it's, I think it ultimately helps when the other person also has a lot of belief. Is it true in pranic healing?
I agree to an extent, but that's not a mandatory thing, like I said. So a little bit of belief, a little bit of openness, and a willingness to experiment is good enough. Belief helps it become much faster. Yes, I agree completely. But if somebody does not believe in it, but they say, I would just like to try it, experiment, that's still okay. And it still works. But again, it's proportional to, it's almost like the resistance, the flow of electricity and the resistance in the wire. So conductivity and resistance inversely proportional. So.
See, I just wanted to come on that belief thing. Yes, indeed. For example, we know all the placebo experiments. We are aware of them. When placebo is given, and simply because I believe there is some elevation of some. Of course, we see that. But I just wanted to take it further, a little further than Anandi ji, what she mentioned. Is there a possibility the treatment can harm someone?
So
almost impossible if you follow the steps properly. It's almost like if you walk properly, will you get hurt? Probably not. So it's almost, if you cut your vegetables properly using a proper knife and you follow the techniques, can you get hurt? Probably not. So it's almost like you follow the steps, there's almost no way for you to do any damage. And there's also, that's where the spiritual aspect comes in also. So there's a little bit of prayer that we do, a little bit of blessings that we ask, and ultimately we're not the ones who are doing the healing also. We're a facilitator. So as much as we're doing the healing, it's not just us who's doing the healing. So there is a slight spiritual aspect to it. So thinking of it from that perspective, it's almost impossible to do it. Unless you
I always
intentionally are
feel,
trying to do something.
sorry.
which-
I always feel that not everybody can be a healer, you know. For a healer, there has to be a certain personality, some spiritual thing inside. So that's what attracts you. Basically, you know, like they say, it's a calling from the guru. So similarly, you know, not everybody can be a healer.
Nothing like that, ma'am. Even I had breaks in between when I got into pranic healing. But I made my mind strong that I need to be a healer. So that our mindset need to be changed. So
It's
if
also
you
like, you know,
really want to become a healer, if you start limiting yourself, nothing can work. So don't limit
No,
yourself.
what I said was not like that. It's like, you
Okay.
know, if I had to share my thoughts, I will not share it with everyone.
Okay.
There is some comfort, you know, something which, you know, in a group of about 50 people, you will feel comfortable sharing your thoughts with somebody.
Yes.
If you're close, you have lots of friends, but you'll be close to only one person where you'll just share your thoughts.
Okay, that depends on the energy level, what you have generated by doing meditations, and that comfort zone, it will build up when you do the meditation, right? So that time you feel like going to that particular person to share all your feelings. That's how we can develop.
The healer will always have a higher energy level than.
Yeah, because we developed it, because as we keep on healing, we also absorb more energy from our source of energies. So that's how we become more stronger in healing. Anybody can do. It's not that it's what they say, it's very difficult to learn. Nothing, it's not a rocket science for you. It's very easy to learn.
By the way, quick sharing, just because she brought up that we become more energized. So some of you may have the question that when you do healing, do you lose energy or do you start feeling tired? It really does not work that way, because you're actually drawing in external energy. You're absorbing prana from the air, the sun, and the ground. So you actually feel more replenished after a session of healing when you're healing somebody.
Actually, when I basically belong to Bhilai, brought up in Bhilai. So there was this Odia lady who used to come to our house. She used to work in our house, and she was very good with massaging and all. So whenever she used to massage my mother's legs, she had pain in that. But after massaging, she used to, you know, click her, like put her palm on the ground and do the, you know, like what we do like this. She said, you know, that negativity goes into her, so she sends it back to the earth.
Okay.
So that she had that feeling that it's taught to us. Like when you massage somebody, then see all the negativity should not enter you, so you give it back to the earth, so it leaves you. So I wanted to ask you whether being a healer also you know, transfers, you know, a lot of healing to do, and you also absorb the negativities.
Not like that. We really won't absorb negativity. See, one more, the basic principle of pranic healing is energy follows the thought. If you healing a person and you say that energy, negative energy, I'm absorbing, it will absorb. So energy doesn't know what is positive, what is negative. It will energize every thought of yours. So when you stay positive towards the person's healing, automatically you won't absorb that. See, I'm past from 22 years, I'm healing. I never experienced any negativity till now. So it's everything is our thought. When you change the pattern of thinking, everything changes. So when you keep on saying, yeah, I'm attracting negative, yes, the body starts attracting only negative. It won't attract positive at all. Okay. You got the answer what you wanted?
Yes.
Thank you.
Also, I just wanted to ask one curiosity. While, as you know, doctor, in stroke we have two very distinct phases. One is almost like an emergency. You know, one is going into the hospital. There is surgery being performed,
Yes.
and then there is a rehab phase, which is maybe during the hospital or outside the hospital. Do you recommend that pranic healing or a pranic healer also be contacted during even the emergency phase?
Yes,
when it
you
is
must.
purely surgical procedure, etc., going on? Will that help even there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because one of the senior most client person in pranic healing, when he was taking class, master has written in the book, a person is had a stroke, like getting stroke, or is on the process of stroke. Immediately start healing the brain. So the stroke, what effect needs to without healing needs to happen, that will reduce as we start healing the person.
So the person need not even be aware that healing is being, I mean, he doesn't need to give his approval or anything. He can
No,
be.
it's not needed because one of the family member is contacting us and saying that my so-and-so is getting stroke, please do something. So immediately it will we can start healing.
And practically, what inputs would you need? Would his name be sufficient, or would you need a photo?
Name and age is sufficient because we are all connected on the earth aura. So we're all interconnected. So once we get the information about the patient, immediately we can start healing the patient.
Okay.
Like that, it works.
And then talking of post, when, for example, physiotherapy is going on, the person is maybe bedridden, maybe swallowing difficulties are happening. In such cases also, you feel that these kind of sessions could alleviate the problems, could alleviate the issues. When physiotherapy is going on, and maybe make him walk faster. I don't know. Maybe make him swallow faster. Do you see that happening? Have you had those experiences?
Yeah, see, side by side, we can do many therapies to make the patient to move. It's like we are working on the energy body. We are boosting the energy body. Through that, we are sending the energy. The energy gets filtered in the energy body and get into the physical body. So it makes the process much faster. So side by side, many therapies can be applied. There's nothing wrong, so.
And absolutely highly recommended. If you're asking, should we do it? Yes.
Yes.
That will make a huge impact.
I have a follow-up question for Mr. Hardeep ji.
Yes, please.
Okay, so he was mentioning that there's a patient who was having trouble with swallowing, right?
Okay.
So, but that basically is because of he's had a stroke and the damages to the brain. So would he be healing the brain or the part which has the problem?
Both.
Both.
Okay.
But the focus would be predominantly on the brain, but both.
Okay.
See, mainly we treat on the chakras. Every chakra has its own psychological work and physical level to work and go. So once we start treating the chakra, we normalize the size because some chakras become big, some chakras become small, then there are certain chakras won't be having energy.
Okay.
So we need to make it normalize those chakras. So we treat those chakras, we remove the diseased energy from those chakras and project the fresh energy there. So the fresh energy, you are giving space for the fresh energy to enter from the energy body to the physical body to work.
Okay.
Like that it happens.
Okay.
So we treat the organ also, we treat the chakras also simultaneously.
Okay. And do you actually feel these negativity in the chakras, or do you visualize them?
No, we can feel the chakra. First we'll remove the negativity and all the dirty energy from. Then when we are projecting the fresh prana, our healer will think about positive vision. We visualize the person is getting up and walking around. That positivity as a healer, we need to picturize and project that energy into the patient's system, like through chakras. So like I'm saying, chakras are like a tap. It knows how much energy to send, how much need to be retained. Whenever the body is needed energy, automatically the chakras will keep on sending the energy. Like example, if a person is having a fever, like how we take the dosage of crocin once in 4 hours, because once that effect is reduced, automatically the person starts getting fever back, right? In the same way, when pranic healing is also applied to the fever, until the infection reduces, we need to keep on healing in a day 3 to 4 times. As the infection level reduces, automatically we also reduce the healing process, like that.
Okay.
See, I was seeing a video, which I think, Naglataji, maybe you had sent the link, that you could take a photo of the auras,
Yes.
You can see. So are there people who are actually taking a photo before and after kind of thing that, okay,
Yes,
this was the aura, how it looked? And after the healing, this is how it is looking?
Yes, sir. It is called Kerlian photography. It's available in Chennai. One of my friend is having it. So before healing, how it looks, after healing, how it looks, we can make out the difference.
Okay.
Prithvi, you have more inputs to give here, the Kerlian photography?
Yeah, there are a few technologies which have come up now. So the earliest was Kirlian photography. So there are few, if you just look up aura photography online, you will probably get a few hits of aura photography. So it's quite interesting to experiment, but it's just for the sake of experiment. It's like a jolly thing for you to go try out. It's almost like you can take a photograph of your aura, then do a meditation or apply a healing on that, and then rescan the aura of that part, and it drastically changes. So it's almost like a visual proof for you to see that. But that's about how much you would want to do with that. Because anyway, with pranic healing, you learn to feel with your hand. So you don't really need a photograph to do it. So, but just for the curious mind, it's nice to experiment.
Great, fine. Arvindji, you had some queries. I think you have some experiences to share also. Maybe you were talking about some deep vein thrombosis that occurred.
Yes, correct. This happened in Qatar in the initial stage of my recovery, and I had opted for this pranic healing. One of my family members recommended this. So I think in less than 4 days or 5 days, the thrombosis was dissolved completely. And this was shocking. I'm not sure if it is believable for everybody, but this was really a great experience. The first experience was a good experience.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Anyone, please feel free. If anyone would like, I'm seeing that we're already at about 8:20. So we've exceeded our time. But if anyone would like to have any questions, please feel free now. Shruti ji, you have some questions?
Yes, sir. I wanted to know, like my parents are in old age, they are healthy, they are hearty, but I want to know for healthy persons whether we can do this kind of healing to maintain their state of health.
Yes,
Yeah, we
ma'am,
can heal
absolutely.
anybody, so ma'am. We can heal anybody. There's no age limit for healing. I have done a healing when the baby was in the womb itself. In a sense, the doctor said the heartbeat was very low. I healed that baby. When she went for the next month checkup, the heartbeat was normal.
Ma'am, what I want to know is, a person is already healthy.
She's asking when a person is already healthy.
Okay.
Yeah, to maintain the state of health.
Yeah.
That is what I want to know. To maintain the state of health, can we use these techniques?
Yes, you can.
Because I think even if there is some chakras have got blocked, that will go away.
Yeah. True.
Thank you.
Just to give you a physical analogy, it's like, that's why I told you it's like cleaning up your house every day, or it's like you have a canal system with water flowing in and you have a block there. What happens to the water? It starts getting clogged, it starts becoming a little dirty. The minute you release the blocks, the water starts flowing. So if you can do that every day and keep the system clean, obviously the flow is going to be much better. The blockage is not going to happen at all. Largely.
Somebody has written, no, you have, being a pranic healer, having a pranic healer at home is like having an instant first aid at home.
True.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, we can do pranic healing where like a lady was sharing her experience. When they were traveling from one country to another country, a person had a heart attack in the flight. A pranic healer was available. No other things were available. They were not able to land nearby places also. So immediately pranic healing was applied. She didn't tell that she's healing, but as soon as she started healing the person. And what happened immediately? The patient came back to normal condition. Once they landed to that their destination, immediately the person was taken to hospital. So it's really a tool for us in hand. Whenever is needed, we can apply.
This question Savita is asking, is there just one level of pranic healing? Anandi ma'am, you're muted ma'am. So sorry.
So maybe we can have some pranic healing sessions also, anybody who is interested.
So I was just coming to that. So Savita was also asking, is there just one level of pranic healing to learn? Are there further levels to learn? So the class I was talking to you was the 2-day class was a basic pranic healing class. So of course there are further levels in that. So if you want to learn everything about pranic healing, at least the healing aspect of it, you need to do at least 3 levels to do the healing aspect of it. So that's basic, advanced, and what we call psychotherapy, which is the healing of the psychological ailments. Can we learn it online? Basic pranic healing, advanced psychotherapy is not taught online. But there is a course called self-pranic healing, which is just to heal yourself, a few exercises, very special exercises, a few breathing exercises, and the meditation is taught online. So that class is available online. It's a 4-hour slot, I think 2 days. So that should be fairly possible for anyone to learn. It's not a lot of time.
And how long does it take for the complete levels to get over? I mean, to be
all the classes are 2 days. So basic is 2 days, advanced is 2 days, psychotherapy is 2 days. That's why I told you, if I can learn it at 16, I'm pretty sure all of you can learn it.
Like we need to give a gap for the basic and advanced in psychotherapy for one month. So you need to put into practice at home by do on yourself, do on your family, then come to the advanced. You'll be learning much more deeper in healing. Techniques are more deeper, and you'll be learning for different ailment how to heal in a little higher level. When you come to the psychotherapy, you will be learning much on the psychological ailments like anger, irritation, depression, suicide tendency, anxiety, relationship problem, many things are there. Mentally retarded people, all these things we can heal on the psychotherapy level.
okay.
Hello. Hi, I have a question on distance healing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you've already discussed that. I had some issues and I joined late. But so, like, I can imagine if there is a, practitioner and a patient in the same place and there is an exchange of energy vibrations and then the healing happens, right? But what I'm not able to understand what formula is there when we speak of distance learning. How exactly is that possible?
That's what I explained in that time, that we are all in the on the Mother Earth, in the aura of Mother Earth. Everyone's aura is connected. So once we get a call from a patient, immediately without our knowledge, we'll get connected to that person, and we start healing that person.
Okay, and is it same? I mean, the impact is same as that of in the same place and versus distance healing. The impact of healing.
Yes. See, from the time of pandemic is started, we only doing the distance healing because nobody is coming home and we are not going to anyone's house. So everything is happening only through distance healing now. So like some people, like I heard from many healers, like they connecting through Zoom link. So they connect, like they say, like 6 p.m. So then the patient will get logged in on 6 p.m. and then the healer also logged in by 6 p.m. So you can see each other, you can interact, and healing also takes place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just to add to what you were asking, there was a particular experiment that was done many years back, I think 10, 15 years back. There were a particular group of cells called HeLa cells, which were kept in culture, I think in the UK, in the United Kingdom. And then the healing was being done from a different country altogether. And that particular group of cells was being subjected to radiation, was kept inside a lead chamber, and was also being subjected to radiation, and pranic healing was being applied on the HeLa cells which were in culture to see what was the effect of radiation on the cells, and without any other external influence. What was interesting to observe was the group of cells that were subjected to pranic healing before and after the radiation thing. The rate of survival, rate of recovery is much, much higher. It was about 80%. Whereas in the arm where pranic healing was not applied at all, the rate of survival is only about 40-50%.
The cells that you're talking about, are these cancer cells?
HeLa cells, they are tissue cells which were just grown in culture, in a culture medium. Just for the sake of experiment, they were doing this. This was many years back, and the healing was done from a different country altogether.
Okay. Okay.
and still work. It's almost like, just look at it from the physics perspective. You have a huge energy system. The entire Earth is just an energy system. Just like the planets, the entire solar system is an energy system, and you're all sitting inside it. So you're sitting inside the larger energy system. So you're just part of the greater system. It's almost like if you can call up different people through a mobile phone, which is a piece of metal and plastic, obviously your hand can do much more than that. Your brain can do much more than that. This is a more living object that's there. Just that we're not trained for it.
I'm just curious about this. Was this experiment documented that you, I mean, was it an independently performed experiment that on a cellular level you had, variances between a non-pranic treatment and a pranic treatment? It was an independent experiment?
I think the research was done in the year 2006 or 2005, sometime around then. I don't remember clearly. At least I heard the research during the 2006 meeting we had.
But it was done by the Pranic Institute itself, or was it an independent research, or how was it? Do we know it?
It was done through the Pranic Healing Institute with coordination of certain labs.
Carrying that line of thought further, would you also say that, for example, animals could also be helped?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
I think all of us have
any
had
life
pets who've been
force,
healed.
anything that has life force can be.
Yeah, can be get healed. Like as I told an example, even a plant got healed, because of the tomatoes were too small, and that farmer applied pranic healing on that plant. It started growing big, and he was able to sell his tomatoes in a better manner. So same can get healed.
That's interesting.
I heal my pet foods. I have a pet. Whenever she has diarrhea or vomiting, I'll heal within half a day. She'll be fine. Sorry?
Doctor, my name is Jaspal. I happen to be Hardeep's brother-in-law. I have a son who is suffering with a severe mental illness. It's a chronic illness happening for the last 20 years. Although he is sustainable, but his medication is going on for the last almost 20 years. So, I mean, any, kind of a healing process could take place whereby, things could come to a little recovery side.
So what I would suggest is you continue with the medical treatment, continue with whatever else support system that you're giving, but simultaneously start applying pranic healing. And probably give it a month or two and you'll start seeing results. I wouldn't say like 1 week you'll start seeing results, but give it a month or two because it's a chronic ailment. We'll also have to be a little bit patient with that. Even if it's not dramatic, you will definitely start seeing positive results when you start doing it for a month or two. Now, there are two things. You want somebody else to do it, that works. But in case of chronic ailments, normally we would request the parents or the caretakers to learn and then start applying. So it becomes easier because you're able to gauge the situation and apply it regularly.
Okay.
But along with the allopathy treatment or any other treatment that you're taking, do not stop that, but add on pranic healing and the results will be.
So it means parents need to learn it to be more effective.
Not mandatory. I'm only trying to say if the parents learn it, it becomes easier because you're there with the child all the time and you're able to do it. If some of you don't have time, then obviously you can ask somebody else, you can request somebody else to do the healing, and it's the same.
No, but can we also expect that, the results, the positive results, maybe I think within certain time frame, which one could experience, and whether the medication, could it reduce the medication? Because there are a couple of medicines which continue for the last 15, 20 years. So there could be tapering in the medicines.
That's one of the positive results we see. Say in the case of hypertension or diabetes, what we do is when we normally start healing patients regularly, the doctor who's treating them actually starts reducing the medicines. We don't interfere with that. We don't interfere with the medicine saying you stop the medicines. But invariably, when the results are showing, the doctor starts reducing. So that could possibly be the case. But because it's a long-standing chronic ailment, I would say we just have to be a little more patient. We have to be a little more realistic with how long it's going to take. That being said, you could have a dramatic result and things could get fast really well. I'm just not giving you really strong hopes, so you don't want to like have unrealistic expectations on that. So that's it. I'm just being a little pulled back on that. But that being said, things could be dramatic also. The only way we'll know is by starting and doing it.
So, distance healing पॉसिबल होगा इसमें? जैसे आप कोरोना पेशेंट्स पे किया आपने डिस्टेंस हीलिंग, तो इस पे मेंटली इल पर्सन पे डिस्टेंस हीलिंग लाइक ये जैसे ऑनलाइन अभी जैसे हो रहा है, इसी तरह से क्या हीलिंग होगा क्या? कैसे करेंगे?
Yes, ma'am. Healing can be done distantly. Now, what we normally do during a distant healing is at the time of the healing, we normally call up the person who's going to be healed or the caretakers and tell them we're just going to start, so that we know at least the person who's on the other end is in a receptive state and is not doing something that you don't want to be doing. For example, you're healing somebody and that person is fighting already or is in an angry conversation with somebody, then there's no point in doing the healing at that particular time. So you just want them to be in a receptive state. So either it's an online session like this where you're seeing each other and you heal, but in some cases, especially with children, that's not possible. They don't want to be sitting. So all you have to do is tell the caretaker we're starting the healing now, and that's good enough.
Thank you.
But generally this healing process, what is the kind of the duration, you know, as you said, so that the person, I mean, he can be given proper instruction that, okay, I mean, the recipient, he has to be mentally prepared that, you know, healing is forthcoming and then one is mentally prepared.
Normal average healing session will take somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the severity of the ailment.
Okay. And it goes for how many sessions?
That's the part that I can't really commit on, especially in a chronic ailment.
Okay.
Especially if it's a chronic neurological ailment, then that's the part that I can't really specify and say it's going to take only 10 sessions or 20 sessions. We really don't know. To be honest, if I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't know. So we'll only have to do it.
We don't want to give any false information, and you might later on you told like this, you told like that. So we never say anything to the patient. We just give a hope, like, no, we'll try. We never give any commitments about it.
No, because I mean, as far as I know, so basically the psychiatrists, they say, you know, the kind of the illness, like it's called as a schizophrenia, where I think they recommend the medication has to continue lifelong. So I think with this kind of a healing, you know, because even if we give the healing, say maybe for a month or 2 months or 3 months, whether, you know, I mean, there is going to be a point of time when the healing is going to stop, because it is not, or is it going to be a continuous process till the time person survives?
Are you talking about schizophrenia here? Is that
schizophrenia? Schizophrenia.
If it's schizophrenia, then you'll probably start seeing positive results in three months at least. Definitely, okay. You should start seeing positive results if you're doing it regularly. At least I can give you a little bit of guarantee on that.
Okay.
I was more worried if it's a neurodegenerative condition or something like that. In that case, then I was not going to commit. But if it's just schizophrenia, then possibly, yeah.
No, it's a case of schizophrenia, and of course, person is quite physically active otherwise. But all this medication has been going on, and there is a great amount of realization on his part to understand why this has affected him and why this medication. And he's very, very, you know, at times thinks when the medication is going to stop, why has it happened with me only? And at times he becomes sensitive about these things. And otherwise, yes, moving fine with his peer group of friends and all that. His age is about 36, 37. But we are also old, you know, because this started 20 years back. We are old now, of the age of 65, 66. So, I mean, because somewhere, you know, down the line, you know, because, so that's what, you know.
I would really suggest we can start healing on this person. So I have a feeling he should recover fast, especially if the emotional, the intellectual aspect is also good, then the healing should be much better. It should be much faster also. It should be possible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Of course, I'll stay in touch with you through Hardeep. Any further inputs and any advice at the times.
Sure,
thank
sir.
you.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now, of course, your numbers are also on chat. And anytime, of course, anyone can be in touch with me at any time. And of course, we can pass on the coordinates. And this chat will also go on YouTube. So later on also, if anyone wants to reach out to Dr. Prithviraj or Naglata ji, they will know the contact coordinates. I think we're at about 8:36, 8:40 now. If there is nothing else, then I would close the meeting, Arvind ji, and Dr. Prithviraj and Naglata ji. Thank you very much for all your efforts. Arvind ji was setting it up, and for your efforts, Dr. Prithviraj and Naglata ji. And of course, all the participants for taking the time. I think it was a very interesting session. And Anand ji, आप कुछ कह रहे हैं, Anand ji?
And I am agreeing with whatever you are saying.
I think it was quite an interesting session, and hopefully it will
Thank you
help
for
many of
giving
us.
us the chance to speak about it. And also thank you for being very interactive crowd. So we were happy talking. So if there are no questions, then there's nothing much for us to speak on. So
Well, it was a
Thanks
pleasure.
a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot
And
for giving this opportunity for us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
Arvind.
much. Thank you. It was really wonderful inputs, Thank you so much, both the doctors. Thank you. God bless you.
most
Thank you.
welcome.
Closing the meeting now. Thank you, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.